Hello, Chelsea fans. So the former owner of Chelsea in the person of Roman Abramovich is on the news again. Recall that during the start of the war between Russia and Ukraine, the UK government saw the battle between Russia and Ukraine as one that is not balanced because they felt Russia is of a superior, military power compared to Ukraine, and so they felt it was just a battle of oppression. And so they placed sanctions on all Russians in and around, the UK. And so Abramovich, being a prominent Russian, he was forced to sell Chelsea. He was forced to sell Chelsea. And then there was an agreement reached that the proceeds from the sale of Chelsea will go to the victims of the war. Now, recall that when this decision was being made, Abramovich insisted that the proceeds of the sale of Chelsea, which is 2.5 billion pounds, will go to all victims of the war. We go to all victims of the war. Now, when we say all victims of the war, there are victims from Russia and there are also victims from Ukraine. So he said the money must go to all the victims of the war, and the money was then deposited in one UK account. And the UK government does not have the right to take out that money. Nobody has the right to take out except being authorized by Roman Abramovich. And now they are saying that up to this moment, from 2022 till this moment, that the money has not been disbursed to the victims of the war. Now, the Prime Minister of UK is coming out to say, Keir Starmer, is coming out to say that the money must go to only victims of the war in Ukraine. That it should not, no penny should go to Russia or any victims of the war in Russia. And Roman Abramovich is not buying that. So they are now trying to institute a legal action against Roman Abramovich to force him to release the monies in that bank account. So this is the situation currently.
I can announce that we're issuing a licence to transfer £2.5 billion from the sale of Chelsea Football Club. That's been frozen, those funds, since 2022. My message to Abramovich is this: the clock is ticking. Honour the commitment that you made and pay up now. And if you don't, we're prepared to go to court so every penny reaches those whose lives have been torn apart by Putin's illegal war.
And for me, I feel like it is very wrong. He has agreed that all the money will go to, victims of the war, all victims of the war. Why then are you against the victims of the war in Russia? There are people who are victims of this war in Russia, and there are people who are victims of the war in Ukraine. Why don't you allow them, ensure that the money goes to everybody who is affected by this war? And then you just want to take all the money and go to Ukraine. It is not right. And this action of the UK government would, one way or the other, scare investors who are not UK, citizens. It will scare them away from the UK, because this only tells them that the government might wake up one day and place a sanction on you and take over everything that you own. So this is preposterous. This is very bad. This is unacceptable. This man has already accepted to do this. Allow the money to be, shared accordingly to everyone who is a victim of the war. Or is the UK government telling us that there are no people who are, victims of the war in Russia? Or are they trying to tell us that the people who are victims of this war in Russia are in agreement with what Putin is doing? You are placing sanctions on Russians. Are they Putin? Are they the one who started, who gave order for this to go on, for the war to go on? But now you are placing sanctions on individuals who are doing their businesses, who are doing their legitimate businesses, which is very wrong. Roman Abramovich during the time had to immediately move his two yachts. Made a very serious and very quick, plan on how to move them out of the UK. How did he do it? I learned he sold this yacht on paper to Turkey because Turkey were not in agreement with whatever sanction that the EU placed on Russia. So they were not taking part of, enforcing that sanction that EU placed on Russia. So he sold it to, on paper, just on paper, to a Turkish company. And then that was how they maneuvered, and he saved his two yachts. Now, nobody knows about what they are going to do to his numerous buildings, in the UK. But then they have forced him to sell Chelsea. And now, instead of allowing the proceeds to be properly disbursed to every victim of the war, they now want the money to go to only, the victim of the war in Ukraine, which is not right. Which is not right. Which is not right. This man is a Russian. And you want to be this wicked to him? That his own people who are victims of the war cannot even benefit from their own brother and stand back to their feet? It is preposterous, to say the least.